Hey, skeletons. So, your first job. Isn't that intimidating? Yeah, so a part of being a part of civilization typically is getting a job. Society, since the conception of civilization, everyone has done something as a part of the social contract for working for each other. Now, how you feel about that, I think it ends up being semantics and irrelevant. You gotta work, you gotta make money, you gotta do things you really hate, or maybe you really like them. But ultimately, you gotta fill your bank account, you have to pay bills, you have to take care of people, and people could mean yourself, right? So, my first job ever was food. I was 16. I actually might have been 17. I'm not positive. But I was actually getting super depressed because a lot of my friends had parents' money, or they had brothers' money, or they had their job already. And I was applying. This would have been about 2016, 2017. And I was really trying to get my first job. I had really long hair back down, to my back. I look like a stoner. So I kind of interpreted that people did not want to hire me at first because of how I looked. So I got my hair cut. I got a lot shorter. I kept my face clean. I looked good. And I wore, a polo and khakis or jeans or whatever. I looked presentable as a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, and I was trying to get a job. And I still was unable to get hired. And that was really frustrating. And ultimately, the only thing that worked for me was perseverance. I was getting really desperate. I applied everywhere, so many retail stores, including the infamous Target application that everyone with jobs has probably filled out at some point and got denied from, me as well. I had a McDonald's interview that never happened. Went there, manager just pretty much ghosted the whole thing, and I threw in the towel with that. I'm very happy I did. And I ended up at a local sandwich place called Sandwich Factory, and I hated deli sandwiches. I was a strict peanut butter and jelly sandwich only guy. I didn't know anything about sandwiches. I had a ham and cheese when I was younger, but I was so picky and I was so against sandwiches. I didn't know a damn thing about it. So I went there, and the first day I walked in and they greeted me through the front door. I was just wearing jeans and a plain dark t-shirt with no logos. And they were like, let's get you started cutting open bread. And I start cutting open bread. And they're like, good. Okay. So then you bring it over here. Someone will slice the meat and put it on there. And then you go ahead and put it on the toppings, so on and so forth. So learning how to do my first job was so stressful, dude. And I was really grateful to have the onboarding that I did. I didn't get any extreme special treatment, but I did get new guy treatment for a little bit. And I had team members that were working there at the time, or other people working there at the time, that were quizzing me, trying to get me on board with everything so I could be one of them. And slowly over time at Sandwich Factory, I assimilated with everyone else. That was my first job ever. I had the shirt. I was able to do the register. I was able to do there's like a grill, a flat top in the back where we did kind of like Philly cheesesteaks and stuff like that, fryers, stuff like that. And it was, it was food. It's your first job. You're not going to be sitting behind it. Very unlikely. You're going to be sitting behind a desk. You're going to be doing something kind of menial, grunt work. As someone who was leaving Sandwich Factory after working there for 3 years, they turned to me and they said, I don't want to do this forever. This is grunt work. I think I have more skills elsewhere. And they did. And I don't talk to them too much nowadays, but they did actually move on from there. This is your stepping stone. This is getting started. That was where I earned my first paycheck ever, in a sealed envelope from our payroll lady. It was sitting there when I came in from my shift. I put on my red apron, I tied it, and I went to the back before I put on my deli gloves, and I opened it and I saw it for $240, $270. And oh my God, I almost cried. I was so excited for that. That was the most amount of money I ever had in my life. My whole life, coming from age, 6 all the way to 15, I had maybe $100, $200 in my bank account that my parents put in there. I had no income. I had birthday gifts and I had Christmas gifts and I had, cards from relatives, but that was it. And it went towards stuff, and I was, bumming off my mom and my dad. I was like, can you buy this for me? Oh, okay. Maybe sometime this month, do you think I could get like $20 for Steam or $25 for Steam on top of, the stuff I got for holidays and stuff? And, 50-50 if I got that or not. Sometimes they'd buy me like, Mickey D's, once every couple weeks or something. It was nice. It was nice. And I'm really grateful for that. But my first job brought me to the first step of adulthood. And it started my resume. At the top of at the bottom of my resume is going to be that job now, pretty much for the rest of my life if I want to include it. I don't really plan on excluding it. That is exactly when I started working. And that's also when I first started to learn about, some adult skills, talking to people, customer service, working with a sense of purpose, pace, managing your own money, taking care of yourself, transportation, bills and housing and so on and so forth. Obviously, I didn't have to worry about housing at the time, but you get what I mean. The bills, the worrying about taking care of yourself and making sure you're able to stay alive. And I worked as much as I could. I mean, I was in high school and I worked, a couple hours after school. I really wish I remember how much I worked. I want to say it was about 30 hours a week. No, it was like 24. 30 is definitely too generous. But during summer, I worked a lot. I actually really, really liked my job because of the people. The people were awesome. And that's another thing about your first job is the people you're going to meet. A lot of those people, maybe you'll hate. I didn't. I only had problems with like maybe one or two people at most. But a lot of jobs, you're going to have people that you just hate. And every day you work with them, you get that picture of your schedule, or you see it when you go in. Oh, they made next week's schedule. You look at it. Oh my God, fucking Clark is working next week, or Brandon, or Devin. Never work with the Devin. I'm giving it a hard time. I love Devin. But you'll get a lot of bonds from your first job. It's as much as you make it. If you don't want to be social, if you just want to completely ignore everyone and just work and go home, that's what you're going to get out of it. You're not going to get connections. You're not going to learn what people are about. You're not going to have anything to do after work. You're not going to have the Friday text that say, hey, let's go out to B-Dubs. Let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings and, have food and talk about work and talk about video games or whatever. Some of your best friends are more than likely going to be made at a workplace, or at least people that you like are going to be made at a workplace. So just be attentive. Show up. Be communicative to your boss. Be respectful to your boss. Just do what you need to and earn your first check. It's super, super satisfying having your own money and having to spend your own money. Maybe you have a phobia of it. I had a hard time spending my money for a long time, but I ended up getting, I'm into firearms. That's when I started buying firearms. And my first car was a Chevy Cavalier. I think it was a '01 Cavalier. It was tan. And I love that car. That car had like no problems, and I got out really lucky. I think I got that for $1,800. It was valued, I think it was on Facebook Marketplace for $2,400. And the guy ended up chopping off a couple $100, and I got my first car for cheap, but it was my money. It was my money I worked for. And if I needed to save more money, say less. I'm working this week. Sounds like a plan. I will do it. And those bi-weekly checks just slowly started coming in and watching my bank account grow, and it just felt good. Your first job, it feels good. It feels really, really good. And I think that's why it's good to have it earlier. The earlier you could get it, the better, because you have less garbage and bullshit to worry about. You worry about, I don't know, maybe you chip in for the phone bill. Maybe you pay your whole phone bill. You're saving up for a car. You're taking girls or guys on dates. You're going out to eat with your friends. You're buying new video games. You're buying whatever. And it's all your money. But there's a downside to that, right? You could be reckless with it. So just be careful. That's when you're going to learn personal finance the most, is when you're actually working. A classroom sure will teach you the terminologies and the semantics about it, but I think when you actually have your first job and you actually have the dollars in your hands, I think you're really able to budget best and you're able to learn the most. And that's why I think your first job is so important. So keep applying, keep trying, don't give up. There are 360 million Americans in this whole entire country, and they need someone to take take care of them, regardless if you're, detailing cars or at a car wash or making someone's burger or whatever. Everyone needs someone to take care of them in some regard, and they will pay you to do that. Whether you like it or not, we all need money. We all need something to do. And I think your first job is going to be something that is daunting. It's scary, but it's got to get done. You got to work. You got to work on yourself. You got to make money, and you got to make yourself happy. So let me know what you guys think. What your first job was. Mine was at Sandwich Factory. It's a small family-owned sandwich shop that I worked at actually for a pretty decent amount of time. I think a couple years, and I actually really liked it. Let me know what you guys worked at. Let me know what you guys learned from your first job or the people that you talked to.